gold and silver prices over these past couple of weeks. And as I've been telling people all along, as the de-dollarization process accelerates, we are going to see gold and silver prices absolutely skyrocket. You're going to hear an interview tonight. Jim Willie has some pretty amazing predictions for precious metals. I hope you guys really enjoy it. But folks, now is the time. You still have the opportunity to capitalize on the transition into the new system, while at the same time having that peace of mind of knowing that all of your hard-earned wealth that you've worked your entire life for is going to be safe and secure while this transition occurs. And certainly, regardless of what you believe, whatever your projections are about the future, we can look to the past historically, and we know for a fact that gold and silver have always been a store of wealth during uncertain economic times. And let's face it, folks, that's exactly where we're at right now. So click the link in the description, patriotundergroundgold.com or patriotundergroundsilver.com. Wait until you hear what Jim Willie has to say about gold and silver. This is the time to make that move, folks. I'm telling you, I would not steer you wrong. I'm not a financial advisor, but guess what? Jim Willie is. And there are many, many others out there who've been ringing this bell for a long time. It's time to make the move, folks. Get off the fence. Do the right thing. Click that link in the description. All right, everybody. God bless and Godspeed. Thank you for listening. Patriot out. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is April 19th, 2024. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. And as you can see, I have with me tonight the great Dr. Jim Willie. He is a world-famous economic analyst. He's the editor of the excellent website golden-jackass.com. He is an expert in financial forecasting. He provides top-notch commentary, and he's just in general an amazing guy. We've developed quite a rapport over the past few years working together, so it's always a pleasure to have
fake money.
Dr.
This
Jim
one's
Willie
about
back
fake
on the show.
money.
Great to see you, my man. How are you? A lot going
Very strange. Very strange. Thank you. Very strange.
You ever listen to Jim Willie?
I am,
This is a pretty recent one with Jim Willie here. We're not going to listen to the whole thing, but I'll let it play here until a few people get on.
what I think
Can they hear it?
and express
I'll turn it
what
up a
I
little
feel.
bit.
In the last several days, I've been feeling like I'm in a surreal space. Surreal. And it's somewhat a nightmare from the fascist shit show, the fascist demo shit show. But
Yeah, you
now
listen to
looking
what he
me
says.
Like this conflict with Persia,
Jim Willie's a mathematician. He's got a PhD in
and
statistics.
the Suez
He's
Canal and Israel
very
and Gaza.
logical,
It's almost
analytical,
looking choreographed.
and you listen to stuff, and it just makes a
In order
lot
to
of real good
capture
sense.
attention, in order to facilitate more funding, and to maybe acclimate the people toward a potentially wider war if it gets out of control. And I do not know if we're going to get out of control, but I've been saying a long time that a lid is on this for getting much, much worse and going global and turning into a conflagration, which is a general term for meaning more retaliatory strikes and retaliatory strikes of a nuclear nature. And I do believe that we had, several years ago, we had some experimental micro nukes exploded in Ukraine.
Huh.
I believe the U.S. and NATO side did them. They were micro nukes. And this is really quite interesting. I won't go on.
I've got a picture of
an interesting point.
a.
If you have a very big explosion, it's pretty hard.
They didn't admit it at the time, but they later admitted that it was a tactical nuke going off in Beirut.
An article
And
that was
I'll tell you,
fascinating.
I said at the time, I said, that's a mini nuke.
18 or so.
At the
maybe
time, I said that's
17.
what it was, and later
I
it
think they
came
were
out
doing
that. I got a video of one of those things going off.
And they actually
And I'll
proved
tell
they
you,
were micro nukes.
You don't want to be around when that shit goes down.
The level of whiteness in the white for the explosion. Nuclear is the whitest of the white. I know that sounds a little strange to people who aren't too familiar with color recognition, but you know, just think of, you got several shades of gray working toward black. Well, black, you could say, has some shades in itself, and so does white. And they have measurements for the white that machines do the detection for. And what they concluded was, way back 7 years ago or so, they had micro nukes in Ukraine from the level of whiteness. It's fascinating to examine some of the technological features, but you know, I think we're being lied to. Now, we made a point before we began recording. I made a simple question. When was the last time we got a true story from the Western mainstream news about Ukraine and the status there?
Who knows?
Whether it was pushing back the Russians or casualties for the Russians or casualties for the Ukrainians, or the type of conscription meaning who are they drafting for the Ukraine army, or damage to Ukrainian bunkers and headquarters centers for the NATO. I believe we've been lied to well over 90% of the time regarding Ukraine. And you know, this is not unique because we're lied to about the U.S. economy. And you know, I got to tell you, Patrick, this is my 20th anniversary month. I now have 240 months. It was April of 04 that I began this at the age of 52. And now here, 20 years later, I'm having trouble adding 52 and 20, but maybe you can help me with that later.
45.
Anyway, now I'm 62. I think it's 60 anyway.
It's 72.
I'm collecting Social Security, but I'm spry, I'm alert. I got a lot of energy, and I won't even tell you what I did this afternoon just to make sure you take a taxi. Okay, we're being lied to. In the first year, in the first several months in 04, I cut my teeth on talking about how the government officials and the mainstream news were lying about economic statistics. And the three biggies are price inflation, jobless rate, and the gross domestic product economic growth. I pointed to shadow government statistics and the pre-Clinton CPI, which was at that time about 5% higher than what was reported in the mainstream news, which meant that the economic growth was 5% lower, and we were stuck in a recession for many years in the early years of this newsletter. Okay, I learned very quickly. I mean, honestly, you got to go back. I was in high school during the Vietnam War. When I graduated from high school, I was 1 year away from the draft.
This
I
real
graduated
raw
at
news,
age 17.
I think that's a bunch of crap.
So I was 1 year
They're
away
just
from
doing
the draft.
clickbait.
So I followed what was going on when I was a junior and a senior in college, in high school, because I didn't want to enter a meat grinder. And I learned how many lies we were told about Vietnam. You weren't even born then. And I was learning that MSM News was full of lies. And I won't get into the lies. But some of the biggest ones were, we're trying to fight communism, trying to curb their growth. We don't want to, and there were some items in there that were so blatant that there wasn't even a lie. They weren't permitted to blow up Sam City, the surface-to-air missiles, SAM.
Okay, well, it looks like we got a bunch of people on here, so why don't we go ahead and get started? I'll pause this thing.
Long war. Okay. I actually met a guy during a summer vacation sitting on the side of Lake Chautauqua in central New York.
One thing that Jim Willie says is that, they say that there's like a 2% unemployment rate or 5% or whatever, but he says that the labor participation rate, he said, is 74%. And what that's saying is the real unemployment rate is 26%. And he's right on the money.
That they're telling us, right?
Yeah.
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 Uh-huh.
Anyways, just looking at some of the comments here. technically everybody's an American state national. The Constitution, there's court cases to say that when the Constitution was written, there was no such thing as a U.S. citizen. So then everybody's an American state national. So all you need to do is say the words and stay out of their so-called contracts. But if you can come up with some ancestry, like my mother did for me, which was real nice, she did a bunch of genealogy, and she showed, and that Will Livingston, okay, was one of the signers of he ratified the Constitution for New Jersey. And she showed that he was my fourth great uncle. So that's like really powerful. That means I'm posterity, as found in the preamble. And I think that's one reason they don't want to talk to me. But at any rate, who knows? I think that's like big time fatal. So this one is called, this is in the Do-It-Yourself Kangaroo Court series, and it's about fake money. Everything they do is based on the fake money. All of the kangaroo courts, all of the corruption, everything is because of the fake money. And we have to get the government out of the business of fake money. Or, you know, there's probably ways that they can straddle it somehow. But certainly the courts, in order to be lawful de jure courts, they can only operate in lawful money. Anyways, so let's get going. First of all, I'm not a liar. Well, I meant a lawyer. No, I meant a liar. You should never take my word for anything. You should always do your own research. I provided references to aid you in your research, but I don't know everything, and I'm open to any ideas. There's 4 types of people you're going to meet in your life. There's those who try to wake up the slaves. There's the slave masters. There's the people who have no idea they're slaves. And there's the people who like being slaves. Which one of you do you really know for sure? Are you who you think you are? You know, this is patterned after that movie, The Matrix. And, you know, that movie was brilliant. Another screenshot from The Matrix. If you can see through the illusion, then you are the solution. Everything is an illusion. If the people don't know their basic rights and freedoms, how can they know when or if their rights and freedoms are being infringed? And that's all part of the dumbing down that goes on in the public fools. Well, I meant schools. No, I meant fools. Never forget the men who started this country are marijuana-growing, whiskey-drinking, tax-evading rebels who let their beds at night to shoot at the cops. And think about it. That's exactly what went on. You know, they were all required to be armed. If they were more than 2 miles outside of town without their arms, they got a fine. If they went to a public meeting without their arms, they got a fine, and the money went to support the militia. Boy, that would be nice if that was the way it is today. Everybody being armed? Man. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the medical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex. I don't trust the military industrial complex. I don't trust the mainstream media. I don't trust the Bankster criminal cabal that owns the government, owns the medical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex, owns the military industrial complex, and owns the mainstream media. And if you call me a conspiracy theorist, I don't trust you. Government is not reason, it's not eloquence, it is force. Like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. Tyranny. This is the stuff our founding fathers were reading. How come we're not reading it? You know, this is what I don't understand. How come we're not reading it? We should have this kind of stuff memorized. Tyranny is the exercise of power beyond right, which nobody can have a right to. And this is making use of power anyone has in his hands, not for the good of those who are under it, but for his own private, separate advantage. When the governor, however entitled, makes not the law, but his will the rule, and his commands and actions are not directed to the preservation of the properties of his people, but to the satisfaction of his own ambition, revenge, covetousness, or any other irregular passion. 'Tis a mistake to think this fault only in monarchies. Other forms of government are liable to it as well as that. For wherever the power that is put in any hands for the government of the people and the preservation of their properties is applied to other ends and made use of to impoverish, harass, subdue them to the arbitrary and irregular commands of those who have it, there it presently becomes tyranny, whether those that use it are one or many. And that's John Locke, Two Treatises of Government, Book 2, Chapter 18, Section 199 and Section 201. And, this should be, grade school kids should be reading about this shit, Yeah, don't get me going. So much of this that we're going to go through today was taken from All Wars Are Banker Wars by Michael Rivero. It's a book. And it's a PDF book. I don't know where I got it, but I got it. Anyways. So all of the corruption is made possible because nothing is paid for. Everything is an illusion. Let's change that. Everything is an illusion. Everything is an international law. Everything is commercial. The Roman cult Sestake Trust minor estate is made possible because nothing's paid for, because of the fake money. It's all because of the fake money. The Bank Act is international law. All banks fall under Unidroit statute. That's private international law. It's impossible to pay a debt with a banknote, with a debt. There is a distinction between a debt discharged and one paid. When discharged, the debt still exists, though divested of its character as a legal obligation during the operation of the discharge. These bankster thieves lay awake at night with this crap, Yeah, don't get me going. The forced loans of 1862 and 1863 and the form of legal tender notes were vital forces in the struggle for national supremacy. They formed a part of the public debt of the United States. And that's Juilliard versus Greenman, U.S. Supreme Court. This rule does not interfere with the right of the victorious invader to tax the people or their property, to levy forced loans, to billet soldiers, or appropriate property, especially houses, lands, boats, or ships, and churches for temporary and military uses. That's Article 37, Clause 2 of General Orders 100. That's the Lieber Code, folks. That's where the forced loans came from. That's why the Supreme Court called them forced loans. And that's legal tender notes. That's what a Federal Reserve note is. It's a legal tender note. The most hated sort of money making and the greatest reason is usury, which makes a gain out of money itself, not from the natural use of it, for money was intended to be used in exchange and not to increase at interest. And this term usury, which means the birth of money from money, is applied to the breeding of money because the offspring resembles the parent. Wherefore, of all the modes of making money, this is the most unnatural. And that's Aristotle. So this has been going on for thousands of years. BCE, that means 384 to 322 BCE. He only lived about 60 years, eh? 384 to 322?
62.
62 years, yeah. Aristotle. The modern banking system manufactures money out of nothing. The process is perhaps the most astounding piece of sleight of hand that was ever invented. Banking was conceived in iniquity and was born in sin. The bankers own the earth. Take it away from them, but leave them the power to create deposits, and with the flick of a pen, they will create enough deposits to buy it back again. However, take it away from them, and all the fortunes like mine will disappear. And they ought to disappear, for this world would be a happier and better world to live in. But if you wish to remain slaves of the bankers and pay for the cost of your own slavery, let them continue to create deposits. And that's from Sir Josiah Stamp, President of the Bank of England in the 1920s, the second richest man in Britain. The Bank of International Settlements. The bank, its property and assets, and all deposits and other funds entrusted to it shall be immune in time of peace and in time of war from any measure such as expropriation, requisition, seizure, confiscation, prohibition, or restriction of gold or currency, export or import, and any other measure. And that's Article 10, Instrument of Foundation, Bank of International Settlements. So I guess it's a foundation. It says instrument of foundation. I'm guessing it's a foundation.
It's the foundation of all money mechanics.
Yeah. When the world around the IMF goes downhill, we thrive. We become extremely active because we lend money. We earn interest and charges and all the rest of it. And the institution does well. When the world goes well, and we'd have years of growth, as was the case back in 2006 and 2007, the IMF doesn't do so well, both financially and otherwise. And that's Christine Lagarde, who's in charge of the IMF. You see, a legitimate government can both spend and lend money into circulation. See, remember, that's what the currency, the forced loans in 1862 was basically the government was just spending the money into circulation, right? They just printed it and spent it. You see, a legitimate government can go spend and lend money into circulation, while banks can only lend significant amounts of their own promissory banknotes, for they can neither give away nor spend but a tiny fraction of the money the people need. Thus, when your bankers here in England place money in circulation, there's always a debt principal to be returned and usury to be paid. The result is that you have always too little credit in circulation to give the workers full employment. You do not have too many workers. You have too little money in circulation. And that money which circulates all bears the endless burden of unpayable debt and usury. In the colonies, we issued our own money. It is called colonial script. Interest-free, wealth-based money issued by the colonies, 1750 to 1764, before Bank of England crooks made it illegal. So this is what precipitated the War of Independence. Think about it. We issue it in proper proportion to make the products pass easily from producers to the consumers. In this manner, creating ourselves our own paper money, we control its purchasing power, and we have no interest to pay to no one. That's Benjamin Franklin, 1763. The following year, 1764, King George III passed the Currency Act, which outlawed all forms of money in the colonies, forcing them to conduct all commerce using banknotes borrowed at interest from the Bank of England. The bank hath benefit of interest on all monies which it creates out of nothing. William Paterson, founder of the Bank of England, 1694. The refusal of King George III to allow the colonies to operate an honest money system which freed the ordinary man from the clutches of the money manipulators was probably the prime cause of the revolution. And that's Benjamin Franklin. I have exclusive content available on YouTube. It's $9.99 a month plus for videos plus unlimited email consultations. But I'm not a liar. Well, I meant a lawyer. No, I meant a liar. But I can tell you what I would do under certain circumstances and where to find the forms. The only power that the New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception. My agenda is to expose it for all our benefit, but I cannot fight all the battles. I need other people being on point, doing the same thing. Some of my exclusive content is an Arlington private information share. That's 7 videos. Land deed training. There's 2 or 3 videos on that. Estoppel certificates training. Foreclosure estoppel certificates training. Corporate denial training. Toll roads notice and demand training. Invoice training. Notice of void judgment training. Revocation of signature training. Third-party witness training. Federal habeas corpus training. Revocation of voter registration, criminal complaint training. There's 3 videos on that, and there's actually one we did this morning that is up there under the NorthEast private information share videos. Lawsuit training, other training requests, NorthEast private information share videos. Lawsuit training, I have done 1, and I probably need to do some more. Yeah. History records that the money changers have used every form of abuse, intrigue, deceit, and violent means possible to maintain their control over governments by controlling money as its issuance. James Madison. They killed Christ 3 days after he threw the money changers out of the temple. For the love of money is the root of all evil, 1 Timothy 6 and 10. What's going on? A notification or anything? There. Okay, well, I guess we're going to be... I must have used that all up yesterday. Damn. Usually it takes all my data. Doesn't seem to be getting enough bandwidth. Okay, well, now we're getting something finally. So Mike Freeman, is tender something that can be lawful, or is it one of those forms that only applies to the legal system? I'd say it's legal tender, gold and silver coin, based on it has to be legal. Tender, yeah, it's commercial.
Well, doesn't the Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 use the word tender? It doesn't use the word legal.
Yeah, that's true. It says only gold or silver coin can be tendered in the payment of a debt.
Right. So
that's true.
And the tender is in a capital T.
Yeah.
So
the fucking internet is a piece of shit. And the other one doesn't work either. The internet's not working. It says connected and secured, but yet it's not showing any Wi-Fi.
you want me to go up and reset the router to see if that helps?
Well, now it's got a little bit of signal. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Yeah, I don't like using those commercial words there, Julie. Fiduciary, trustee, those are beneficiary. I don't like using those commercial words. That's all found in the Uniform Commercial Code. It's all in the words you use. I stay away from that stuff, and I strictly talk about law. And I don't like using those commercial words. The words you use will determine the venue you will get. Contrivances for cheating the labor classes of mankind, none has been more effective than that which deludes them with paper money. We are in the danger of being overwhelmed with irredeemable paper, mere paper representing not gold nor silver, no, sir, representing nothing but broken promises, bad faith, bankrupt corporations, cheated creditors, and you're saying I don't want governments long established should not be changed for light and transients. It's a good thing I'm recording this thing. I hope it comes out. People Denial of due process. If there's any place you're going to get your rights violated, it's in the so-called courts. From punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states. For transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. That's bringing color of law outside not exceeding 10 miles square. That's District of Columbia. Everything is District of Columbia. It's commerce. It's corporate. It's a bunch of thieving pirates. For abolishing a free system of English laws in a neighboring province and establishing therein an arbitrary government, that's dictatorship, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule, that's bringing District of Columbia dictatorship outside 10 miles square. For imposing taxes on us without our consent. You know you have to consent. How many just volunteer to pay taxes? You still paying taxes? Interweb's gone.
We brought the extenders down here. And
That's one right there, isn't it?
it's showing it's broadcasting.
Well, I'm getting the signal. Okay, so let's keep moving here. I turned off my VPN. That might speed it up and make it work better. Oh, no. YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. Gee, that sounds like dictatorship. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever, protecting and waging war against us. That sounds like military dictatorship under the Trading with the Enemy Act. He's destroyed the lives of our people, populating the jails for commercial transactions. Texas is a bigger percentage of people in jail than the worst communist dictatorships. More than China, more than the Soviet Union. That's true.
How many?
I don't know.
I mean, more than China?
Yeah, as a percentage.
Oh, okay.
Capital must protect itself in every possible way, both by combination and legislation. Debts must be collected, mortgages foreclosed as rapidly as possible. When through the process of law the common people lose their homes, they will become much more docile and more easily governed with the strong arm of government applied by a central power of wealth around leading financiers. These truths are well known among our principal men who are now engaged in forming an imperialism to govern the world. By dividing the voter through the political party system, we can get them to expend their energies in fighting for questions of no importance. It is thus by discreet action we can secure for ourselves that which has been so well planned and so successfully accomplished. Montagu Norman, governor of the Bank of England, its Bankers Association, New York City, 1924.
Before you go on, Glenn, look up there again. The common people lose their homes, point 2.
Yeah, I know.
We're thinking that I always thought till just now, today.
That's a mortgage payment for some people.
I'm paying 6 on my dad's.
Huh?
6,000 a year for my dad's house.
There you go. When a government is dependent upon bankers for money, they, and not the leaders of the government, control the situation. Since the hand that gives is above the hand that takes, money has no motherland, financiers are without patriotism and without decency. Their sole object is gain. And that's Napoleon Bonaparte. Just 1 year after Mayer Amschel Rothschild had uttered his infamous, "Let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws," the bankers succeeded in setting up a new private central bank called the Spencer Perceval was adamantly opposed to war with the United States, primarily because the majority of England's military might was occupied with the ongoing Napoleonic Wars. Spencer Perceval was concerned that Britain might not prevail in a new American war, a concern shared by many in the British government. Then Spencer Perceval was assassinated, the only British Prime Minister to be assassinated in office, and replaced by Robert Banks Jenkinson, the second Earl of Liverpool, who was fully supportive of a war to recapture the colonies. And this is some news, some of this stuff, but assassination of Mr. Perceval, London, May 12th. It says here, the assassination of Mr. Perceval as he was entering the lobby of the House of Commons yesterday at 5:15. Mr. P was shot through the heart and expired immediately. The assassin remained in the crowd and surrendered himself. The prisoner spoke of the following effect. I have admitted, it doesn't have everything he said there. And families. All right.
I don't know if that's going to help.
Well, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, we got another one we're trying, and it looks like it's pretty good. We'll see. Okay. Yeah. Well, YouTube is saying we're getting good signal.
Good.
Okay. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on Steemit. Don't forget to like this video on YouTube. Don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified that there's a new upload. On Steemit, don't forget to vote and make your comments. And check out my BitChute, although I haven't uploaded much to BitChute lately. This is my front page of my YouTube channel. The subscribe button's already clicked. The bell hasn't been clicked. Normally the subscribe button's red. The bell, once it's clicked, will look like it's vibrating. The few who understand the system will be either so interested in its profits or be so dependent upon its favors that there will be no opposition from that class. While on the other hand, the great body of people, mentally incapable of comprehending the tremendous advantage that capital derives from the system, will bear its burdens without complaint and perhaps without even suspecting that the system is inimical to their interests. The Rothschilds of London, writing to associates in New York, 1863. So they're a bunch of thieves. They know they're a bunch of thieves. If this mischievous financial policy has its origins, which has its origin in North America, shall become indurated down to a fixture, then the government will furnish its own money without cost. It will pay off debts and be without debt. It will have the money necessary to carry on its commerce. It will become prosperous without precedent in the history of the world. The brains and wealth of all countries will go to North America. That country must be destroyed, or it will destroy every monarchy on the globe. The London Times, responding to Lincoln's decision to issue government greenbacks to finance the Civil War rather than agree to private bankers' loans at 30% interest. They're a bunch of thieves.
He got assassinated.
In 1872, New York bankers sent a letter to every bank in the United States urging them to fund newspapers that opposed government-issued money. That's Lincoln's greenbacks. Dear sir, it is advisable to do all in your power to sustain such prominent daily and weekly newspapers as will oppose the issuing of greenback paper money, and that you also withhold patronage or favors from all applicants who are not willing to oppose the government issue of money. Let the government issue the coin and the banks issue the paper money of the country. To restore this to circulation, the government issue of money will be to provide the people with money and will therefore seriously affect our individual profit as bankers and lenders. And that's Triumphant Plutocracy, the story of the American public life from 1870 to 1920, by Lynn Wheeler. So they're even saying, the bankster thieves are even saying that they're trying to see the Lincoln's greenbacks was no different. That, remember, Franklin talked about there was 15 years that the colonies were issuing their own money as needed to facilitate transactions. That's all it was, is just to facilitate transactions. It was interest free, and they didn't have to pay for it. You see what I'm saying? Because it just issued it. And Lincoln did the same thing.
It was just a medium of exchange.
That's right. That's all it was. It will not do to allow the greenback, as it is called, to circulate as money in any length of time, and we cannot control that. Triumphant Plutocracy, the story of the American public life from 1870 to 1920 by Lynn Wheeler. Slavery is likely to be abolished by the war power and chattel slavery destroyed. This I and my European friends are in favor of, for slavery is but the owning of labor and carries with it the care of the laborer, while the European plan led on by England is for capital to control labor by controlling the wages. This can be done by controlling the money. And that's Triumphant Plutocracy, the story of American public life from 1870 to 1920 by Lynn Wheeler. When the Confederacy seceded from the United States, the bankers once again saw the opportunity for a rich harvest of debt and offered to fund Lincoln's effort to bring the South back to the Union, but at 30% interest. Lincoln remarked that he would not free the black man by enslaving the white man to the bankers, and using his authority as president, issued a new government currency, the greenback. This was a direct threat to the wealth and power of the central bankers, who quickly responded. Goaded by the private bankers, much of Europe supported the Confederacy against the Union, with the expectation that victory over Lincoln would mean the end of the greenback. France and Britain considered an outright attack on the United States to aid the Confederacy, but were held at bay by Russia, which had just ended the serfdom system and had a state central bank similar to the system the United States had been founded on. Left free of European intervention, the Union won the war, and Lincoln announced his intention to go on issuing greenbacks. Following Lincoln's assassination, the greenbacks were pulled from circulation, and the American people forced to go back on an economy based on banknotes borrowed at interest from the private bankers. Tsar Alexander II of Russia, who prevented France and Britain from invading the U.S. during the Civil War, Alexander II immediately sent his fleet headed by the frigate Oslabaya to New York Bay, and he sent his Pacific flotilla to San Francisco with a special imperial order that it be placed under the direct command of Lincoln. Tsar Alexander II, who authorized Russian military assistance to Lincoln, was subsequently the victim of multiple attempts on his life 1866, 1879, 1880, until his assassination in 1881. So the Russians, I mean, they helped us in the War of Independence too.
There's the evidence.
No shit. I have two great enemies, the Southern Army in front of me and the bankers in the rear. Of the two, the one in my rear is my greatest foe. Abraham Lincoln. The money power preys upon the nation in times of peace and conspires against it in times of adversity. It is more despotic than monarchy, more insolent than autocracy, and more selfish than bureaucracy. The government should create, issue, and circulate all the currency and credits needed to satisfy the spending power of the government and the buying power of consumers. By the adoption of these principles, the taxpayers will be saved immense sums of interest. Money will cease to be the master and become the servant of humanity. The chief duty of the national government is, in connection with the currency of the country, is to coin money and declare its value. Grave doubts have been entertained whether Congress is authorized by the Constitution to make any form of paper money legal tender. The present issue of the United States notes have been sustained by the necessities of war, but such paper should depend for its value and currency upon its convenience in use and its prompt redemption in coin at the will of the holder, and not upon the compulsory circulation. These notes are not money, but promises to pay money. If the holders demand it, the promise should be kept. James Garfield. Now, what I am hearing, and it's not in here, but I am hearing that people like the greenbacks because remember what was happening is we didn't have really inflation or anything like that, so they would get the greenbacks and they would get interest on them, right? They could turn them back for interest and get a little bit extra.
He's there.
Huh? Oh, he's here?
Sir.
Okay. Anyways, that's what I heard is people like the greenbacks. By the experience of commercial nations in all ages, it's been found that gold and silver afford the only safe. Yeah, it looks like I'm getting way better signal now. Yeah, I bet you it is because of the nature of the subject matter, but we got a better connection now. It seems to be working better.
My brother, he must be back from his trip.
Was it Jonathan? So it's not Brennan?
No.
Oh, I thought it was Brennan.
He was the only one I was expecting. So.
Okay. By the experience of commercial nations in all ages, it's been found that gold and silver afford the only safe foundation for a monetary system. Confusion has recently been created by variations in the relative value of the two metals, but I confidently believe that arrangements can be made between the leading commercial nations which will secure the general use of both metals. Congresses should provide that the compulsory coinage of silver now required by law may not disturb our monetary system by driving either metal out of circulation. If possible, such an adjustment should be made with that the purchasing power of every coin dollar will be exactly equal to its debt-paying power in all markets of the world. And that's James Garfield.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon.
Whoever controls the value of money in our country is absolute master of all industry and commerce, and when you realize that the entire system is very easily controlled one way or the other, by a few powerful men at the top, you will not have to be told how periods of inflation and depression originate. President James A. Garfield, 2 weeks before he was assassinated, 2nd of July, 1881. Our financial system needs some revision. Our money is all good now, but its value must not further be threatened. It should all be put upon an enduring basis, not subject to easy attack, nor its value, nor its stability to doubt or dispute. Our currency should continue under the supervision of the government. The several forms of our paper money offer, in my judgment, a constant embarrassment to the government and a safe balance in the Treasury. William McKinley. McKinley was shot by an out-of-work anarchist on September 14, 1901 in Buffalo, New York. Succumbing to his wounds, a few days later, he was succeeded in office by Theodore Roosevelt. So that's 1901, right? Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will effect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bills relating to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. Colonel Edward Mandell House, in a private meeting with Woodrow Wilson. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value designed to make us a profit. They will be none the wiser, for not one man in a million could ever figure our plans, and if by accident one or two would figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability, and after all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and privileges. This will inevitably reap to us huge profits beyond our wildest expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud. Okay, it's a fraud. They're even saying it's a fraud, by which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss which we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless and without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the president of our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Edward Mandell House, in a private meeting with Woodrow Wilson. If all bank loans were paid, no one would have a bank deposit. There would not be a dollar of currency or coin in circulation. This is a staggering thought. We are completely dependent on the commercial banks. Someone has to borrow every dollar we have into circulation, cash or credit. If the banks create ample synthetic money, we are prosperous. If not, we starve. We are absolutely without a permanent monetary system. When one gets a complete grasp of the picture, the tragic absurdity of our hopeless position is almost incredible, but there it is. The banking problem is the most important subject intelligent persons can investigate and reflect upon. It is so important that our present civilization may collapse unless it is widely understood and the defects remedied very soon. Robert H. Hemphill, credit manager of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta for 8 years. Yeah, they claim plausible deniability, but now they don't because we know, right? And the key is to educate other people and then break it off in their ass. I'm afraid the ordinary citizen will not like to be told that the banks can and do create money, and they who control the credit of the nation direct the policy of the governments and hold in the hollow of their hand the destiny of the people. Reginald McKenna, as chairman of the Midland Bank, addressing stockholders in 1924. States, most especially the large hegemonic ones, such as the United States and Great Britain, are controlled by the international central banking system, working through secret agreements at the Bank for International Settlements and operating through national central banks such as the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve. The same international banking cartel that controls the United States today previously controlled Great Britain and held it up as the international hegemon. When the British order faded and was replaced by the United States. The U.S. ran the global economy. However, the same interests are served. States will be used and discarded at will by the international banking cartel. They are simply tools. So, again, that's why I like cryptocurrencies, because they have no control over it. And I think that this is the end of the banksters. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, but the ones that have the servers can control it.
Sorry?
The ones who operate the servers for the cryptos.
That's true. Well, no, it's not servers. The servers, the cryptos, that's the blockchain. Okay, you know how the cryptos work? There's a blockchain. You know what the blockchain is, don't
Yeah,
you?
but I don't.
The blockchain is a distributed ledger. Okay, all it is, the blockchain is an amount and a public key. That's all it is. This is an amount and a public key. So this public key, this amount transferred. That's all it is. The only other thing is they might be able to track down an IP address, which will give them a general area. Okay, an IP address will tell them that maybe it's Ocean City, New Jersey. Maybe it's Southern New Jersey. I don't know how much they can narrow down IP addresses.
The IP address tells them the device, though, does it not?
No, it doesn't. No,
Really?
it tells them general address.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because what happens is, for example, you have a router, right? Your router gets 198.163.0.1, okay? And every router around here gets 198.163.0.1. Just about every router, okay? And so then on your router, then this computer will get 198.163.0.2. And this other computer that's on your router will get .3. You see what I'm saying? And so there could be all sorts of them. It's really hard to tell. But they can get the main server that's coming from, say, Verizon, if it's Verizon. So they might know that it's Ocean City. But there's still a hell of a pile of people around here. It could be coming from anywhere. But they can get a bunch of transactions and narrow it down that way, too. That's how they actually go after people for money laundering if they're selling a lot of cryptos. I'll be back in a minute.
I mean, I've heard they're hacking into Bitcoin, and if they could do that, they could do anything. I mean, if they want to take down all the routers in this area, they'll do it, right?
Goodbye.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. How could you depend on cryptos?
I can't.
I don't know. I mean, I don't depend on them yet, but I'm saying if we go that route where everything,
What are
you
depending
have
on
to
now?
use, you
You're
have to
depend-
use
You're
them.
depending. You're depending on government crypto called FRNs.
Well, it's not digital. It's something I'm carrying.
It
We're
is
talking
so.
about,
It
we're
is
talking
so
about something
digital.
you can't
It is-
hold. You can't
it is-
hold this
No,
digital
your
currency.
card is digital.
What?
Your food card is digital.
Yeah.
So you are carrying digital money.
Well, the card is accessing
Exactly.
the digital money is accessing what I have in the account.
Yeah, but it's digital.
Well, and what's in the account isn't digital.
Yes,
I have
it is.
FRNs.
No, it's digital.
Yeah, if I have $1,000 in my checking account, it's not digital.
Yes, it is. It's a
Then how
digital.
can-
You just
I
said
could
it.
I could withdraw it.
It's
If I
digital.
withdraw it, I got it in my hand.
Oh, so you have
I
paper.
can't withdraw cryptos.
Yes, you can.
How?
They'll give you the FRNs.
Well, well, if you get FRNs out of the cryptos, I could go the other way,
I'm
right?
just, I don't know.
If you can get FRNs out of the cryptos, you can get cryptos out of the FRNs. That's what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? If you can control one, you can control both.
I agree.
It doesn't matter, digital or paper, because the way they're going on the digital network, let's say, right? using that card. If you're not paying cash, you're using your card. And I could pay cash, and they can't track that, but they can track when I put the cash into the system. Right, I put $20 into the bank yesterday. They can track that. But when I put it into crypto and buy something, they can't track that. They know I paid $20 for the crypto, right? They know it because that money came out of the bank. Unless I go to the ATM machine and buy Bitcoin with my $20. But it's gonna be on record. Right? I have to buy it as me. I can't buy it as John Doe, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
They had right at the arcade. There was a ATM. Purchase Bitcoin here. I saw it today. I was like, look at that. So if I buy some, won't they have a record of who bought it? They will, right? What I do with it, they know I got it. If I say I don't have a crypto, well, you bought something on May 4th, here's the record. We're confiscating everything. Because they have a record of every time you bought it with the with money.
How would the ATM know it was you?
How else am I going to get the money? They get the Bitcoin. I have to have some kind of ID.
Maybe you have a
I put
Bitcoin.
money in there. It's not going to just give out Bitcoin. Where's it going to go? I put $20 in. It's going to go into my wallet, right? So that ATM has access, knows where my wallet is, because I put the Bitcoin in there. I got the $20. Goes to the wallet. They can track it, and then when it goes out of the wallet, who cares? But they know it went in. They know the Bitcoin went into my wallet at that ATM with the $20 that came out of with the FRM. So it's like if they know I'm buying it, how come they can't control it?
I don't know.
If I go to an ATM, what if they have let's say China, they're saying, oh, you can't do that. They're doing that. If you don't have a high society grade in China, you can't even ride a train. No, you imagine? If you're like a dissident in China, you can't ride a train with using your whatever money. You're like a nobody. What's keeping them from doing that here? Not much, from what we're hearing.
So, anyways, the blockchain is an address and an amount, and that's it. It's a distributed ledger. And there's millions of computers all around the planet that are mining Bitcoin, and they all have a full copy. So what happens is Bitcoin was created in 2008, so the blockchains get pretty big. And the mining machines have to keep a complete copy of that blockchain. So it's the file.
But can I buy Bitcoin with Bitcoin?
Not really, no.
I go to the ATM down there.
You can go down to the ATM.
$20 to buy
Right.
Bitcoin.
Right, you can.
They know who bought it.
Sorry? How do you know?
They know who. Well, I put my $20 in there. It's not you. Don't I have to have an ID to put the $20 in there? A bank
Some
card?
of them do.
A bank card or
Some
something.
of them do. No. You can feed cash.
I never
You
did an
can
ATM
feed
machine.
cash. I bought Bitcoin with just a phone number from a burner phone, basically. What I do is I put in, depends on the ATM. Okay.
It's not pure.
But there's ATMs that I've gone to. I put in a phone number and they send me a text. And then I put in, they want to know the code, so I give them the code. But the phone could be a burner phone. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could be, but 99% of people are going to have a phone.
Well, it's all on how much you want to protect
Just
yourself.
like your Telegram. Your phone number's in there, right? Not some
I know.
Walmart phone you bought for $20.
I know. Yeah.
See, the majority is going to be doing it. So once they know who bought it, they don't care where it went. They know Joe Nagy bought that Bitcoin today.
Well, they know that you're not a money launderer. That's all they're concerned about, really, theoretically.
But I'm saying, if they want,
But they can,
they want to shut down all these routers to get to me in this area, they will do it.
Well, no,
to get me,
they
will
won't.
shut down everybody.
No, they won't, because of the
Why
fact
not?
that their power needs the internet too. Okay, they're having their thumb on you. They need the internet too, so they won't shut it down. They'll just come down here and they'll arrest your ass.
Well, see, but how they know where I am? So you just said. So you
Well,
just, you just said generally they have to go everywhere, right?
They won't necessarily come here. See, they have to work on rules. I can tell you that for sure.
If I become
They have rules they got to follow, so they don't have to. There's the Fourth Amendment. You're guaranteed protection against illegal searches and seizures. So they can't just search your. They could, and find out where you're at. It depends on how bad they want you. You
If
remember
I
that
become-
movie Enemy of the State
If I become public
with
enemy,
Will Smith? You remember that movie Enemy of the State with Will Smith?
which one?
Enemy of the State.
I don't
That
know.
was like in the 90s.
I don't know.
It was in the 90s. Will Smith is that black guy, right?
I probably saw it, but
Yeah.
I don't remember the title.
He's anyways, they can, if they want you, they'll have you.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But the point is that that's why I do what I do. Because that makes sure that they don't want to have anything to do with me.
If I become public enemy number one, and they know I'm in Ocean City, New Jersey,
Yeah.
they will do whatever they have to do to get me.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, see?
I mean, they can watch you from the
And if
satellite.
all
You know, you ever heard of John Gotti? He was a New York gangster. He was a New York gangster. They put him in jail for like 25 years. Okay? They went and they convicted him based on picking his voice out in a football stadium with a shotgun microphone from 5 miles away. Okay? So they can sit there down the street with a shotgun microphone
With the
on that
satellites.
window and listen to the conversation in here.
Satellite there where my phone is, right? Satellite can pick up my phone.
I'm not sure about the
That's where my
satellite.
signal's going.
No, it's not. It's going to the local cell phone tower.
Well, how much is satellites are picking up what?
So what's your point? I don't see what your point is.
You said they can't get to the blockchains. It's like
No, I
There's
said
no-
that the blockchain is just a distributed ledger maintained by millions of Bitcoin mining machines all over the world.
yeah, but
And it's relatively anonymous.
Is it full?
Some of the
fail-proof?
blockchains,
Is it fail proof?
some of them are completely anonymous. Okay, there's
Yeah,
one called
anonymous.
Monero. There's a crypto called Monero, and that the blockchain is encrypted. And I have no idea how it's encrypted. That's all I know. And so they can't see transactions. But I know for a fact that they've indicted people for money laundering based on Bitcoin transactions. And some of the ways they do that, one of the ways is, if they want to burn you, they'll go up to you and say, I got some money I want to buy some Bitcoin with. It's drug money. They'll come out and tell you it's drug money. If someone wants to buy your Bitcoin and they tell you it's drug money, then just tell them, look, tell your FBI friends to go and find someone else to buy it from. That's what I would do.
But what if public enemy number one becomes a Christian here? See, that's what I'm saying. If it
Yeah.
gets to that point,
They
don't care.
at the end of the day, if you're worried about that, then crouch down and lick the fans of your master and beg for forgiveness and be a slave. I don't care. Whatever you want to do.
Well, look what Hitler did to the Jews. He didn't enslave them. He
You're right.
knocked them off.
But
That's what they want
that's
to
where
do.
the militia comes in. So if you want to be a slave, knock yourself out. That's the
I'm not
militia.
saying wanna be,
Well, no, you do. You're sitting there worried about something like that. You want to be a slave, knock yourself out.
No, I'm not saying. I would just bring up a point of I don't understand how you can trust cryptos. That's my point. I don't understand.
It's better than Bankster money.
I got
Didn't you just? I don't know. Maybe
I
you
got
weren't
silver
listening.
coins in here. I touched this more than any crypto.
Well, whatever.
I got $2.50 in here.
Good, good.
And,
I know. I keep.
you know,
I
wish I had more, but that's all I have on me here. Two front, you know, $50.
Well, I got $1 right
I
here.
had silver dollars on me. I lost.
This
them
is
about 3
$1.
years ago.
This is $1, and I keep one because otherwise I'm a pauper. Technically, if you don't have at least, actually, you're supposed to have $2, and I don't have $2,
Why?
but I got $1. Huh?
Why two?
I don't know why. I think in the old days, in the you were considered a pauper or a vagrant if you didn't have $2
Yep.
a minimum.
Maybe to buy a bed and a meal.
I don't know, but back then, you remember, people worked for $1, worked for a day, and you get the standard pay was $1 a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, $1 a day.
Yep.
In the old westerns, you listen to the old westerns. Anyways, the thing is, yeah, I use promissory notes because that's what it takes to get along. But I think that it's not going to be long till the money is going to be so worthless, and the cryptos are going to be another medium of exchange. It's all it is a form of barter. It's all it is. But the thing I like about it is it's not controlled by the banksters. There's no interest payable on cryptos. There's a transaction fee. If you send some cryptos to somebody, there's a fee, but it's not very much. It's very small, and
Doesn't BlackRock control the cryptos?
sorry,
Isn't BlackRock in control of the cryptos?
no.
No.
BlackRock is just a corporation. They're bankrupt too. I don't know if you know that or not. No. Okay, so let's keep moving here.
You finished that one.
I did, okay. So, President's signature enacts currency law. This is Wilson declares that the first series of constructive acts to aid business. Yeah, right. He's a son of a bitch, that guy. I hope he's rotten in hell. I am a most unhappy man. You damn well should be, you son of a bitch. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is now controlled by a system of credit. We're no longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men. Yeah, that son of a bitch. You should be unhappy, and I hope you're rotten in hell right now. When the Weimar Republic collapsed, economically it opened the door for the National Socialists to take power. Their first financial move was to issue their own state currency, which was not borrowed from the private central bankers, freed from having to pay interest on the money in circulation. Did you know that's what happened with Germany? Most people don't get told this. Germany blossomed and quickly began to rebuild its industry. The media called it the German miracle. Time magazine lionized Hitler for the amazing improvement in life for the German people and the explosion of German industry, and named him Time magazine's Man of the Year in 1938.
Yeah.
Because all they did is they printed money instead of borrowing it from the bankster thieves.
And then invaded Poland.
The enemy of the German Reich is not Nazism, and those who still haven't understood this haven't understood anything. No, it says the enemy is the German Reich and not Nazism, and those who still haven't understood this haven't understood anything. And that's Churchill's chief counselor, Robert Lord Vitsart, September 1940, to Foreign Minister Lord Halifax. Germany's unforgivable crime before World War II was its attempt to loosen its economy out of the world trade system and to build an independent exchange system from which the world finance couldn't profit anymore. We butchered the wrong pig. Winston Churchill. And so now I'm going to play a video. Now I'm going to play a video Oh, hold it now. That's not where I want to go. This is where I want to go. This is what I thought was a propaganda video, but I think it's food for thought. This is one that I got a long time ago. I want to make sure and wow, how come I can't see that? Can't see. Let's try that.
comes from the financial system. All of it. The problem for the Jewish people is that that system is completely dominated, almost totally controlled by Jewish bankers. And this explains a lot about how we understand history, because Of all the things that Adolf Hitler, the Jewish people, oh boy, here comes, oh my God, did he say Adolf Hitler and Jew? Oh my God, oh my God. And so what we know about Adolf Hitler is like what we know about history. The victors, of course, write the history, don't they? They write the history, and they tell us a narrative, and we're supposed to swallow that bullshit as if it's true. The major crime of Adolf Hitler was that he got Germany out of a banking debt that was drowning the German people, drowning the German people in a cesspool of moral decay, drowning in debt. And he had the nerve to actually say fuck off to the bankers and start printing their own money. And Germany went from a destitute post-World War country that was drowning, German starving. And he had the nerve to actually say fuck off to the bankers and start printing their own money. And Germany went from a destitute post-World War country that was drowning, German starving. And he had the nerve to actually say fuck off to the bankers and start printing their own money. And Germany went from a destitute post-World War country that was drowning, German starving. And he had the nerve to actually say
Okay,
fuck off to the bankers.
so I'm waiting for that thing to stop.
And Germany went from a destitute post-World War country that was drowning, German starving.
Okay, so I'm waiting for that thing to stop. What the heck is going on here? What the heck is going on? Where's that sound coming from? Okay, so I'm waiting for that thing to stop. Let's, no. What the heck is going on? Where's that sound coming from?
Not coming on you. It's not being broadcast onto this.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay, there we go. So what happened? Where's that sound? Somebody did you do something? Anyways, good to know. Okay, there we go. So what happened? Who's talking? Somebody did you do something? Okay, well, anyways, so anyways, good to know. Okay, there we go. So what happened? Who's talking? Somebody did you do something? Okay, well, anyways, so anyways, good to know. Okay, there we go. 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 Good Okay, we're back. Damn, that was a bit of a nuisance. Okay, we're back. Damn, that was a bit of a nuisance. Okay. Okay, we're back. Damn, that was a bit of a nuisance. How come that's coming off? Okay. Okay, we're back. Damn, that was a bit of a nuisance. How come that's coming off? Okay, so let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay, so not the political doctrine of Hitler was hurled us into this war. The reason was the success of his increase in building a new economy. The roots of war were envy, greed, and fear. Major General J.F.C. Fuller, historian England. We made a monster, a devil out of Hitler. Therefore, we couldn't disavow it after the war. After all, we mobilized the masses against the devil himself. So we were forced to play our part in this diabolic scenario after the war. In no way we could have pointed out to our people that the war only was an economic preventative measure. And that's U.S. Foreign Minister James Baker, 1992. I remember that guy. The war wasn't only about abolishing fascism, but to conquer sales markets. It was bankster thieves. We could have, if we intended so, prevented this war from breaking out without doing one shot, but we didn't want to. It's a commercial transaction. They're a bunch of thieves. Don't get me going. Winston Churchill to Truman, March 1946. So my contact information, sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com is my blog. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profile, Sovereign Living. My Facebook community page, I deleted it due to censorship on the part of Facebook. My private group, Sovereignty International, is being deleted. It takes time to ban 17,000 people off your group, and quite frankly, I haven't been to Facebook in months. My free list private group is called Administering Your Public Servants, and my Google private group is called Administering Your Public Servants. Follow me on Steemit at Sovereignty International. BitChute is Sovereignty International, and HowTube is Sovereignty International. So Kennedy circulated U.S. Treasury notes. This is one of them, and that'll be the next step in our little story here.
Bye-bye, John.
Under Executive Order 11110, Kennedy issued $4.5 billion worth of U.S. Treasury notes. Kennedy was assassinated. Johnson's first act on the plane from Dallas was to recall the fake money, the Treasury notes.
Crook Johnson, man.
This is Title 12, United States Code, Section 411. Federal Reserve notes to be issued at the discretion of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System for the purpose of making advances to Federal Reserve banks through the Federal Reserve agents as hereinafter set forth, and for no other purpose are authorized. The said notes shall be obligations of the United States, shall be receivable by all national and member banks and Federal Reserve banks, and all taxes, customs, and other public dues. They shall be redeemed in lawful money on demand at the Treasury Department of the United States in the City of Washington, District of Columbia, or at any Federal Reserve bank. And I can tell you that I've been to Federal Reserve banks wanting to redeem them in lawful money, and they laughed at me. Matter of fact, they said, we don't have any gold or silver coin in this bank. This is taken actually from the Gold Reserve Act of 1934. I have 2 or 3 of those notes. I think 2 of them. As used in this act, the term United States means government of the United States. The term continental United States means the states of the United States, the District of Columbia, and the territory of Alaska. The term currency of the United States means currency which is legal tender in the United States and includes United States notes, Treasury notes, gold certificates, silver certificates, Federal Reserve notes, and circulating notes of the Federal Reserve banks and national banking associations. The term person means any individual, partnership, association, or corporation, including the Federal Reserve Board, Federal Reserve banks, and the Federal Reserve agents. And that's found under the Gold Reserve Act of 1934 at 48 Stat 344. So, commerce. Commercial law, the substantial law dealing with the sale and distribution of goods, the financing of federal credit transactions. See, these are commercial words. Security of goods sold, negotiable instruments. Most American commercial law is governed by the Uniform Commercial Code. It says most, not all of it. Not all commercial law is governed by the Uniform Commercial Code. You can do a common law contract without being in commerce. If military script, commercial paper, Federal Reserve notes, Bank of Canada notes, etc. is used, then it's governed by the Uniform Commercial Code. If the corporations are involved, it's governed by the Uniform Commercial Code. The Uniform Commercial Code is controlled and governed by UNIDROIT as part of the Hague Convention on Private International Law. And so you can go to their website, unidroit.org. UCC is international law. It's private international law, which means the law of contracts in international law. Banknotes are international law. If military script, commercial paper, Federal Reserve notes, Bank of Canada notes, etc. are used, it's international law. Gold or silver coin is not international law. Cryptocurrency is not international law. This is Downs versus Bidwell. Damn. I got part of that site missing. There we go. 182. US 244. Eliminating then from the opinions of this court all expressions unnecessary to the disposition of the particular case, and gleaning therefrom the exact point decided in each, the following propositions may be considered as established. That the District of Columbia and the territories are not states within the judicial clause of the Constitution, giving jurisdiction in cases between citizens of different states. So, District of Columbia is not a state. under Article 3. Judicial clause, Article 3.
Is that why we have to, is that why we have to sue the man himself? Because otherwise he's within the international law, like a judge or a cop.
Well, they have immunity. You have to pierce their immunity. If you once, it's easy to sue them when you sue them in their private capacity.
That's what I'm saying. That's not District of Columbia international law. But
Well, that takes him out of District of Columbia,
that's
yeah.
not, that was my point.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So you sue him in his private capacity because once you show that he wasn't acting in his official capacity, then he walks away from his immunity.
And the government can't protect them with
And
their money
no.
or their judges.
Yeah, matter of fact, what you do is if the U.S. attorney or the district attorney tries to defend him, then that's a felony, misappropriation of public funds.
Nice.
So you file criminal complaints against the attorney
So
unless he hires his own private attorney. Most of them, if they're smart, will hire their own attorney. This with Randy Kelton, it can go either way. But again, if the government attorney tries to defend him, then you go after the government attorney for misappropriation of public funds. Anyways, that the District of Columbia and the territories are states, as the word is used in treaties with foreign powers, international law, in respect to ownership, disposition, and inheritance of property. That's the estate, the minor estate. That the territories are not within the clause of the Constitution providing for the creation of a Supreme Court and such inferior courts as Congress may see fit to establish. So, again, the territories don't, remember, and this Downs versus Bidwell was in Puerto Rico, had to do with Puerto Rico. And so the Puerto Rico is a territory, obviously. That's why one of the things they said in that case was that territories are not within the taxing clauses of the Constitution, which that's why the IRS is domiciled in Puerto Rico, because they can't tax. At least the federal government can't. Doesn't mean the state, Puerto Rico, can't.
Well, under the Northwest Ordinance, weren't the people taxed by Congress? I thought that's what the Northwest Ordinance said.
It talks a lot about the territories in this case, so I can't remember. But
are they referring to the territories as in before a state is established, or territories owned by
anything that's a territory, okay, like a state? It said in here that once statehood is granted, then they can't take it back. Once statehood is granted, then they have all the protections under the Constitution, and they can't take it back.
So the territories that Downs versus Bidwell is after 1865, it's in 1901.
Actually, yeah, this is 1901. So it's territories at that time.
Exactly. So the question becomes, if I want to get some protection today under the Northwest Ordinance based upon the Confederation, that's not the same type of territory word as it is today under that.
That's true.
Okay, thank you. That's new information.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the old.
It's not the same sort of territory. The District of Columbia and Territories are not states under Article 3 of the Constitution, and the District of Columbia and Territories are states under international law. That's why they can say the states, because most of these statutes are international law. So if you don't understand the law, then, your ignorance gets you into trouble. Clearfield Doctrine. Governments, any sovereign, descend to the level of a mere private corporation and take on the characteristics of a mere private citizen where private corporate commercial paper, Federal Reserve notes, and securities is concerned. For purposes of suit, such corporations and individuals are regarded as entities entirely separate from government, which means there's no sovereigns in commerce. Okay, you're in private international law. You volunteered to go in there. It's private. It's contracts. No sovereigns in private international law. That's why I don't want to have anything to do with it. The minor estate, it's a fraud, and I'm going to do everything I can to break it off in their ass. Every corporation, for all its purposes, is an agent of the bitch. Well, I guess it's the son of a bitch now, right? Section 3 of the Government Corporation Operation Act of Canada. And Section 2, definitions in this act, owned means subject to the regulations. If you're owned, if you're subject to the regulations, you're owned. That's slavery. But that's the same thing the U.S. Constitution says. Congress shall have power to dispose of and make all needful rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States. That's Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2. If you're owned, if you're subject to the regulations, you're owned. Therefore, U.S. citizens residing in one of the states of the Union are classified as property and franchises of the federal government as an individual entity. Okay, and that's a summary of that case. It might be correctly said that there is no such thing as a citizen of the United States. A citizen of any one of the states of the Union is held to be and called a citizen of the United States, although technically and abstractly there is no such thing. So that's why you can go in at what I would do if I went into the federal courts is I'd say I'm a man and I'm American national, and I can, as a state national, I can travel from state to state and enjoy all the rights and privileges of citizenship. And these guys are denying me my federally protected rights. These pirates. See what I'm saying? And it's by right of blood. My ancestors participated in the War of Independence. We therefore decline to overrule the opinion of Chief Justice Marshall. We hold that the District of Columbia is not a state within Article 3, so there's actually lots of cases that talk about this. But this one expands on it in a little bit different direction. In other words, cases between citizens of the district and those of the states are not included in a catalog of controversies over which Congress could give jurisdiction to the federal courts by virtue of Article 3. It's the same thing what Don Smithwell said, right? But it says more. In other words, Congress has exclusive legislative jurisdiction over citizens of Washington District of Columbia, U.S. citizens. And through their plenary power, that's dictatorship, nationally covers those citizens, even in one of the several states, as though the district expands for the purpose of regulating its citizens wherever they go throughout the states of the Union. You remember this is National Mutual Insurance Company versus Tidewater Transfer Company, U.S. Supreme Court, 1948. You remember the Kavanaugh hearings. And they asked Kavanaugh, they said, can we go after a U.S. citizen in Afghanistan? I don't remember. You guys remember that? And what did Kavanaugh say? He said, yes, you can. And it's because of this. Because of the Commerce Clause. They're talking about the Commerce Clause here. Plenary. That's total. They can do anything they want. It's the Commerce Clause. Plenary jurisdiction. A court's full and absolute power over the subject matter and the parties in the case. Plenary is full, complete, entire. Black's Law Dictionary, 9th edition. Plenary, full, complete. The courts of admiralty and the English ecclesiastical courts. Okay, again, ecclesiastical. That's the Roman cult. Bouvier's Law Dictionary. And this is Wikipedia, but it's the same, saying the same thing as Legal Information Institute, which is Cornell Law School. So I wouldn't normally quote Wikipedia, but it's saying the same thing. So, and it expands on it in a little bit different way. A plenary power or plenary authority is a complete and absolute power to take action on a particular issue with no limitations. It is derived from the Latin term plenus. And that's Wikipedia. Legal Information Institute, Cornell Law School. Complete power over a particular area with no limitations. The term is often used to describe the commerce power of Congress. Under the Commerce Clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, Congress is granted full power over the interstate commerce. The court has found that states are not able to pass laws affecting interstate commerce without the permission of Congress. That's Legal Information Institute. So again, they're talking about the Commerce Clause. That's the banksters. The banksters fall under the Commerce Clause. Democracy. Fake laws, false arrest, feel free. In doing this, I shall have occasion incidentally to evince how true it is that states and governments were made for man, and at the same time how true it is that his creatures and servants have first deceived, next vilified, and at last oppressed their master and maker. A state like a merchant makes a contract, a dishonest state like a dishonest merchant willfully refuses to discharge it. And that's Chisholm versus Georgia. That's like 1793. That's right after the War of Independence. I mean, this is the same stuff that went on that precipitated the War of Independence. My new book, Trump, a True American Patriot or Not, is available. Mike Blackwell asked me to write the book, and it took me about 6 weeks because all I did is I took a lawsuit and manipulated it and turned it into the book. But then Mike had to babysit me for about 6 months and get ready to publish. So I put him on the book, but I wrote the book. And he hired a company to help us. There we go. He hired a company to help us, and they wrote the stuff on the back. And I think they nailed it right here, I'll tell you. Matter of fact, if you want to get and follow along on the back, you can.
I would.
It says, in Trump, a True American Patriot or Not, Glenn Fern and Mike Blackwell reveal the depths of corruption, deceit, and manipulation infesting our political system for hundreds of years, regardless of political affiliation. I'm sorry, Nelson, I didn't get you. Don't worry. Read the hard evidence that exposes how our elected officials sold Americans into slavery. Understand the Founding Fathers' true intent when they formed a republican form of government. Discover the influence of the satanic Roman cult on our politicians and political system. Does Donald Trump want to transfer power back to we the people? And Trump, you'll see the great battle that is upon us. And I think they nailed it. It is a great battle. It's huge. We're fighting with the Bankster thieves. And they are thieves. They're diabolically evil. They want to enslave us. That's what they've been working for from the beginning.
We've been enslaved most of our lives, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I've been enslaved most of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how much longer I have to live.
Well, most people have no idea they're slaves. That's the best slave to have, is one that doesn't know he's a slave.
Absolutely.
You can order the book from Amazon or from my website. It's $45 now. It's going up. If you order from my website, I can give you an autograph book. Amazon does not provide autograph books. Sorry?
If I get it here, will you autograph it?
They're autographed already.
Oh, they are? Okay, I didn't.
Do you want to know the origins of the deep state? Who's behind it? You want to know why it's called the Trump administration? It's in the book. Do you want to know what an administration is? Do you want to know how Trump came to be president? Did you know he was invited? There's actually a YouTube video. You ever heard of Jerome Corsi? Jerome Corsi is a guy that lives up in the Northeast. He's got a PhD in political science. He he's got a PhD in political science from Harvard. He's got a website, got a YouTube channel, written a bunch of books. Anyways, there's a YouTube video where he says that in 2015, 5 generals came to see him and they said they were going to overthrow Obama. And he said, well, you can do that if you want, but you might want to go talk to Donald Trump first. 3 months later, he gets a phone call. They decided not to overthrow Obama because Donald Trump had agreed to run for president. So this book is 99% provable facts. XRP 109? Really? XRP is up that high? Anyways, it's 99% provable facts. I use law dictionary definitions, international treaties, court cases, all sorts of stuff to prove everything I say in there. But there is some opinion. And my opinion is that the entire Trump administration was a giant military psyop. Damn. So, my opinion is it was a giant military psyop. I got to get some more airtime for my phone because I just used it up, Paul, and now nothing's working. Do you want to know who owns Congress? Why do you think Nancy Pelosi would get up there and say, we can't read this bill until after we pass it? Do you want to know why they're called law enforcement officers? Do you want to know how you have become a slave? Do you want to know what the root cause of the War of Independence was? It's the same thing that's going on right now. It's in the book. It's the Bankster thieves. That's really where it's all coming from, is the Bankster thieves. And that is from the Roman cult. You want to know why every president goes to visit the pimp? Well, I meant the Pope. No, I meant the pimp. On their first international trip. You notice that? They always go to see the pimp on the first international trip. Well, I meant the Pope. No, the pimp. So Mike Blackwell, I already told you about him. Jerome Corsi, I told about him. The 95% provable facts, I told about that. Howard Hughes. You know, it's my opinion. This is another one of my opinions. That all these billionaires get approached by the New World Order crowd and get told you're going to go along with our program or you're going to turn up dead. And everybody knows how Howard Hughes was hiding out. Well, at the time I wrote the book, I figured that he'd been approached too, and that's why he's hiding out. But I've since learned more, and that's why I got David Wilcock there. Okay, because David Wilcock, there's a video with David Wilcock. Do you know who David Wilcock is? He's got a YouTube channel called Divine Cosmos and a website, Divine Cosmos. Anyways, he's a pretty interesting guy too. He thinks that he's a reincarnated, what's his name? The sleeping prophet, J. Edgar Casey. He thinks he's J. Edgar Casey reincarnated. Who knows? But anyways, so he says that that Howard Hughes, after the end of World War II, he got blackballed and he couldn't get into defense contracts. So he went and got some young ladies to go and sleep with the military-industrial complex types to find out from Pillow Talk why he couldn't get any defense contracts. And that's when they found out that they were going to have pandemics and wars and kill off 90% of us and take over the world. And so he had published some manuals for Kennedy. He had published some manuals and procedures on how to defeat the whole thing, and Kennedy was actually implementing it. And remember, Kennedy circulated $6 billion or $4.5 billion worth of U.S. Treasury notes. Remember that? That's like telling the banksters, you're done here. You see what I'm saying? And so they killed him, they killed his brother, they killed a bunch of other people. And, right. Well, there's some debate as to whether they might still be around. Anyways, so the bottom line, though, is that that's why Howard Hughes is hiding out, because he figured he was going to be next. And then there's the helicopter crash in 1984. I think Trump, my opinion, okay, Trump was told to go along with their program too. And I think Trump thumbed his nose at him. And there was a helicopter crash in 1984, and I happen to know a little bit about helicopters because I started working on helicopters as a mechanic in 1976. And so I know a little bit about helicopters, and I know I've seen helicopter crashes. I've seen them crash. I've seen the crashes. I've seen what happens to those things when they crash, and they don't do too well. But anyways, so this helicopter crash, it was Trump's helicopter. 3 of his executives were on it, and he canceled out at the last minute. And it crashed for a reason that I've never heard of a helicopter crash, because the blades came off. I've never heard of a helicopter crashing because the blades come off. What I've heard, what I know is that they'll crash because you get a tail rotor drive shaft bearing that seizes. Matter of fact, we were supposed to, as mechanics, that was one of the things we were supposed to check all the time, is they had little heat paint on the bearings. And if those bearings, if that paint was discolored, then you had to change those bearings because they were getting too hot, which means they were getting ready to go. See what I'm saying? And so that was normal procedure. We had to check those things. Ripple's only at 53 cents. So I don't know why he's talking about Ripple at 109. Anyways, I know about helicopters. I know that they crash sometimes, and I know the reasons they crash. And I've never, ever heard of a helicopter crashing because the blades came off. Matter of fact, the blades are life limited. The pins on helicopter blades are life limited, and they have to be replaced after a certain amount of time to prevent a failure. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they don't. Helicopters don't crash because the blades come off. But the blades sheared or something happened, and the blades came off. Now I can tell you that they've had helicopters in Vietnam. Okay, I mean I grew up. I went to high school in the '70s, so I heard about Vietnam. I was in Canada at the time, but so there was helicopters in Vietnam that would get 4 feet shot off the blades, and they'd still fly.
Right. Not
They
well, but
they'd have a vibration, a really bad vibration, but they would fly. I mean, think about it. If you're getting shot at, you're going to fly that sucker
Go down, you're dead.
and
right?
get the heck out of there. That's right. That'd be worth a laugh, wouldn't it? Well, afterwards, after it's all done and you get home safely, you know what I mean? Then you laugh and chuckle about it. Anyways. So, anyways, the point I want to make is that I'm familiar with helicopters. In reality, they're not after me, they're after you. I am just in the way. And there's some things that have happened in current events. I'm giving you your country back from the criminal psychopaths who stole it from you, and half of you don't even know it yet. And I think he's right. And about 18 months before Trump's first indictment, I got an email that said he would be indicted, and don't worry, it's all part of the show. I don't know if you know that or not, but I did. Just before the first indictment, Trump came out and said, I am your retribution. I think he's jerking their chain. I think he wants them to. I think he's jerking their chain, and I think they're in panic mode. Just before the most recent indictment, he started talking about public hangings. The deep state is in complete panic mode. Biden does not have the 747. I think Trump's got it. Okay. He's also got his own airplane. But I tend to wonder how much he's getting compensated. I'll bet you, I don't know. But anyways, I can tell you that airplane, remember when Biden walked up the air stairs, and tripped 3 times? Well, that wasn't a 747. I can tell you for sure. That was a 787. Okay. And so Biden does not have the 747. He doesn't have Air Force One. I think Trump has that one. Matter of fact, Trump has gone on international trips, and I think that's what he goes on is Air Force One. But I don't know. The White House is vacant. I've heard there's YouTube videos of people that go to the White House and they're around, filming it, and the grass is all overgrown and there's nobody there. And there's videos of people across the street and they're filming it. There's security inside. There's people walking around inside, security, which I would expect, but nobody's in the White House except security. You know what I mean?
Videos out like Biden meeting whoever from,
Right.
or they.
That's supposed to be a stage. There's one in Florida and one in California. Not Florida or Georgia. I think Georgia and one California. And I've heard there's been pictures where Biden's sitting at the Oval Office at his desk, and you look through the window behind him, and it's a parking lot. No, they didn't cover all the bases.
or they're telling us it's part of the show.
It's the Biden show, kind of like the Truman Show, except the Biden show, right? So what happened is what I heard is that Trump was given an opportunity to sign the Insurrection Act, and Sidney Powell, I don't know if you remember, Sidney Powell left the night before. That's from listening to 107. I've listened to a lot of 107 ones, and that guy has connections. I don't know who he is, but he's got connections, and he's had connections for a long time. Anyways, he back in he said that Sidney Powell went home expecting to come back the next day and sign and prepare paperwork for Trump to sign for the Insurrection Act. And what happened, and this was actually on the news. I remember this being on the news. She came back, and Mark Meadows had revoked her pass. And so everybody was saying Mark Meadows was a traitor. I don't know. You remember that? I remember that. Anyways, Mark Meadows had revoked her pass. And the reason is, according to 107, is Trump used to have meetings in the middle of the night all the time. And he met with some generals in the middle of the night. And the generals told him that they had gamed out all sorts of scenarios, and that if he signed the Insurrection Act, within 6 months we'd be in a civil war, and that they had gamed out all sorts of civil war scenarios, and the Republic does not survive. So Trump decided not to sign the Insurrection Act and to wake people up. And so that's what he's doing, right? He's doing all this shit to get people to wake up to what's going on. Yeah. And so this actually came out just before his first indictment. I remember I took this, I kept it for my videos. For those of you who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. He's jerking their chain, I'm telling you. So anyways. So British accredited regency. Okay, you know it's British. That's what BAR stands for, okay? A friend of mine from Canada that is an avid researcher, he went and came up with this, and it makes a lot of sense. A regent is someone who was taking place of the sovereign, right? They know we're all sovereign, and we're asleep at the wheel. All bar members are a foreign agent of the Roman cult. Bar members are here to enforce the martial law. They're agents of the Bankster thieves. Martial law is international law. All so-called courts are military courts run by bar members demanding fake money and can only award fake money. Every assassination was over fake money, okay? All of the presidents that got killed.
Right, Garfield, right?
Well, it's more than Garfield. It was McKinley.
Garfield wasn't killed, was he?
Yeah, he was. Well, he died from, was poisoned, yeah. McKinley, Lincoln. I mean, they were all, they attempted to kill him.
Right.
Every assassination was over the fake money. All warfare is because of the fake money. Even prime ministers of England were assassinated if they failed to make war on the Americans as instructed by the Bankster thieves. The minor estate makes sure the Bankster thieves get paid. Usury is an indulgence from the Vatican. It's all coming from the Vatican. All bar members are foreign agents of the Vatican. The fake money is required to pay the filing fee for all so-called courts. A portion of the filing fee goes to pay for errors and omission insurance for the fake judge. The only thing they can deal in is fake money. All courts are operating under international law. That's why the bar members are attorneys and judges. All courts are Bankster courts. War is when your government tells you who the enemy is. Revolution's when you figure it out for yourself.
Are there any Article 3 courts, and if there are they also fake courts today?
The only one that might be Article 3, and it's only under certain circumstances, is the Supreme Court. All of the courts have the capability of being Article 3. They're general courts of general jurisdiction. But remember, when they operate in derogation of common law or under a special statute, they become an inferior court of limited jurisdiction. And they just automatically do that stuff. When liberty and freedom are at stake, silence isn't golden, it's yellow. These bankster wars are only because we, the people, are failing to form our militias. Really, that's what it comes down to. The U.S. Supreme Court in Ex parte Milligan said that the military courts can only operate because we, the people, are failing to convene our own common law courts. We need to convene our common law courts. When we, the people, convene our common law court, the military courts are required to step aside.
Has anyone done this in the nation that you know of? Holding a common law court under we the people and the military court stepping aside?
Well, they haven't really come into direct conflict, quite frankly. But I can tell you that the police won't interfere with the people. Okay, when the people are doing a demonstration, the police won't interfere. They're told not to interfere with the people. Okay, they understand that we, the people, are the ones that are really in control. And it's when the people will tell you. And I can tell you that, again, you have to bring up the right issues. But I believe that the military courts will step aside. Cliff High even talked about how, and I was looking online last night looking for what kind of writs can issue about a writ of injury, and I couldn't find anything that was specifically for a writ of injury. I mean, there's a summons, that's a court writ, and but so Cliff High talked about common law courts sprouting up all over the country and issuing writs to the military sheriffs, ordering them to go and arrest some crooked government bureaucrat, and they'll go arrest them and bring them back and put them on trial.
Well, the Holy Spirit just gave me a little shot of truth.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah.
As I was thinking about my current bail priest.
Right.
Picturing that sheriff being ordered to go do it.
Right. Well, you need a common law court. You need some people to get together and convene your common law court.
So the answer is, even though you've been involved for years in the common law arena, yet even in Texas, there's yet to be a common law jury that you know.
We're learning, just like everybody else.
Right. I'm just.
We have meetings, and what I think that we're, I mean, it's a huge job, but so what we're deciding is that Congress has to be the ultimate common law jury. If we can't convene a common law jury, then Congress has to do it.
You mean Texas?
And so then Congress is going to start taking it upon ourselves to. I'm in the Senate, so we'll take it upon ourselves to appoint a common law jury to deal with them. So then we have to have a procedure for people to bring an action, and how do they bring an action against whoever? How do they bring an action, civil or criminal? And then we'll have to, once we do have some actions that have to be dealt with in the courts, then we got to Congress is just going to have to deal with it. Right now, it's slow because everybody's got their life. They don't. It's a huge job.
I understand. Can a common law court is there a common law court possibility that is not a trial by jury?
No.
Okay, beautiful. That's what I thought.
These judges can sit as a common law judges.
No, I'm saying
like
forget
there's
the judges for a second. Just in your Texas situation, under the Seventh Amendment, right? In suits at common law, that means somebody was injured, either their property. Maybe we should try small cases first. like for $100, $500.
Well, yeah, of course.
With two people saying yes, we both agree to have trial by jury and actually just go through the process with two willing sovereign men saying yes to trial by jury. You follow what I'm suggesting?
See, at common law, it's very severe. You cannot. It's either death or like there was a sci-fi book. I used to, when I was in my 20s, I used to read a lot of sci-fi books. Robert A. Heinlein, Isaac Asimov. I mean, there's a bunch of sci-fi authors, but there was a book called Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert A. Heinlein. And it was a book that was full of short stories. And one short story was a guy that was like a dimensional traveler. And he went to another dimension here on Earth. And he, it was a pure common law dimension. And they had horse and buggies. And so there was an accident and somebody broke their leg. And so what they did is the police broke the leg of the other person. And then everybody was happy and everybody went their separate way. That's eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
Well, the question
You see what I'm saying?
Well, the question I have regarding that is this. Under the Seventh Amendment, it talks about of a controversy greater than a value of $20.
Right.
So the jury, under a common law judgment, it wouldn't be death if I broke somebody's leg, whether accidentally would be one or on purpose would be another. And the jury would then say, I would come bring a claim and say the value is whatever.
Right.
And the jury would decide the law, the facts, and the punishment.
Right.
And therefore, it has a money value. It has money, real money, gold and silver.
Right. Has to be.
And Charlie used to say that that's how a person could potentially risk losing their freedom, because if you couldn't pay in gold and silver, the jury would say you owe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years of servitude or whatever. That was his answer of how it used to work. I never confirmed that.
That could be. I mean, but really, at common law, if you read the Bible, it was you had to pay like if you stole somebody's property, I think you had to pay 7 times.
Yes,
And if you didn't pay the 7 times, then they put you to death.
right, but that would be where the two men, the man comes to the one sovereign sues another. And what Charlie claimed was if the other guy thought that the common law trial by jury would be too severe, he would revert to the U.S. court.
Well, I suppose with what the way Cliff High's talking about, it's going to be these corrupt government officials, and so then what'll happen is, with those kinds of crimes like perjury of oath and that kind of stuff. I mean, most of that stuff is death sentence.
Right, but I'm not trying to take
And at common law, when they're put to death, you're supposed to hang them on a tree. And you do it in the morning and you take them down by sundown.
right, but that's the I'm looking at just common law as far as between men getting along, men in a society.
I understand.
Not coming up against the bankster thieves with the military and the sheriffs and all that.
Well, but if the sheriffs arrest them, then the sheriffs are going to have to carry out the penalty too. The military sheriffs, yeah, of course.
But I'm just talking about the Seventh Amendment, the guarantee of the value in controversy in suits at common law where the
Yeah.
value in controversy is more than $20. It doesn't say necessarily that it's a death sentence. It's just more than $20.
I understand, but most things are, that's why the insurance came around. Okay, think about it. You had basically some guy that caused injury, maybe poked this other guy's eye out accidentally, and so they were getting ready to poke his eye out, and he said, hold it, I got $1 million, will you take $1 million instead of my eye? You see what I'm saying? And the guy says, oh yeah, I'll take the $1 million. So good, I'll give you the $1 million. You see what I'm saying? And so then that's where insurance came around. And but the insurance brings in the admiralty and all the rest of it.
Correct. Does it really?
Oh, it does. It's subrogation. When you hire an insurance company, that's subrogation. You turn your rights over to the insurance company, and the insurance company can negotiate it.
Right. So therefore, it's not a common law action.
No, that's not.
So
No, but the question is if the guy gets damaged at common law, and he sues in a common law court, he wouldn't necessarily have to accept the insurance company's settlement.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? So he could hold that guy's feet to the fire, and if the guy's rights are subrogated to the insurance company has to sweeten the pot, and either that or the guy's insurance is going to be useless.
Or or the man who is being sued,
Right.
in the suit,
Right.
has to face the trial by jury.
That's right.
But the trial by jury could potentially, I don't know what actually happened back then, how it all worked, because
Gonna have to go into the Bible, and it's all in the Bible.
no, I'm talking about what happened in the real world in Pennsylvania and New Jersey and under the common law, because the Western states, while they were territories, they were under. Well, it does say that common law is still valid. Trial by jury. Habeas corpus.
That's right. They went by the Bible.
The trial by jury did.
Of course, it all went by the Bible.
I don't know. I'd like to read about what.
If the Bible talks about that stuff for someone that like, for example, if some crooked bureaucrat goes and bears false testimony against you, then and it finds out that was false testimony, then he has to suffer the punishment that you were going to get.
Right. That should stop someone from bearing false witness.
That would. Well, I mean, if you were going to get the death penalty, then he gets the death penalty.
And that's fair.
That's under God's law.
Right. And it does say that in there.
Yeah.
If you bear false witness, whatever
That's right.
you were trying to, whatever the penalty was going to be.
That's right.
And that would clean up everything.
Well, it certainly would. It wouldn't take too many people having that done to them. Then word would travel.
So, what does that look like in the Republic of Texas on a smaller case? Instead of going for the gusto and trying to put so-and-so on the gallows, what about just a real common law court?
Well, I can tell you that
Meaning between two men.
I can show you a common law decision. I can print one off for you. It's like about, 20 or 30 pages.
From when?
From the 90s.
1990s?
Yeah. And that somebody took to the de facto courts to get it overturned. It was WFFA TV. It was a television station.
You did find it, because back when you never had that.
No, I've got that. I've got it. I've got it. I'll bring it up here, but let's do that after.
No, that's okay.
I can show it to you.
No, that's good, because I what Charlie said should happen in a common law when I go to one of these
the de facto courts.
Right.
It was brought into the de facto courts and asked the de facto courts to overturn it, and the de facto courts said they couldn't, and the WFAA TV had to file bankruptcy.
But it was a corporate. Well, so the corporation, the man that was injured took the corporation, essentially.
Not necessarily. They had to file bankruptcy.
No, by virtue of, okay, so what did the man get?
I don't know. He had to make a claim just like everybody else in the bankruptcy court. You see what I'm saying? If he was smart enough to make a claim in the bankruptcy court, then he got whatever his judgment was. But
wouldn't the United States bankruptcy laws supersede, and then the judge decides?
it'd just go into the bankruptcy court, and it's like any bankruptcy court. What happens is they look at the assets, they look at the debtors, they look at the creditors, and they divvy up the assets, right?
That's helpful. But that's good. So the common law, that was a common law court.
Yeah, and the de facto courts couldn't do anything about it.
Did the common law? Was the TV station represented by an attorney, or did they just, or was it
in the de facto courts, everybody's represented by an attorney.
In the common law court where the judgment was given,
I have no idea.
Well, that's just a question I have.
I'll let you look at it. You can come to your own conclusion.
Thank you.
Let's keep moving here. This is almost done. Yeah, we're 10 slides and we're done. We, the people, have abdicated our responsibility to form our militias, convene our common law courts, and the prisons are populated because of it. Think about it. It's really a really evil situation. We have two choices. We can organize ourselves into militias and drill assemblies, or we can continue with the same routine that you can expect to continue to be abused, assaulted, kidnapped, sold into slavery, property stolen, and murdered. Insanity is defined as doing the same thing and expecting a different result. In suits at common law, where the value in controversies shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. And this is brilliant. And so what I would suggest is any common law court is find the right facts. So so what I would do if I was on a common law court is I'd have a list of facts that we would find, and the facts would lead to the jury, to the verdict. You see what I'm saying? Because of these facts, this is our verdict. You see what I'm saying? We find these facts, and so then it says then the rules of the common law. So then some other court, if they want to go by the rules of the common law, maybe they'll not find the same facts, but I would expect they probably will. But it forces them to go by common law, and it brings up to defeat those facts. I mean, that's perfect. Anyways, freedom or slavery? I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. Check out my other videos: Bankster Thieves Playlist, Roman Cult Playlist, Bankrupt Corporate So-Called Governments, Bar Members 1 through 8, Do-It-Yourself How Not to Volunteer for the Selective Service in the Draft, Martial Laws Here, Do-It-Yourself No Income Tax, Do-It-Yourself Free Mail, Kangaroo Courts 1 through, actually this is 30, so let's change that. Canada Border Pigs Playlist, and Bar Members in Their Satanic Connections Playlist. Give Me Liberty or Death was quoted by Patrick Henry after he witnessed a man flogged to death for refusing to take a license. They flogged him for refusing to do business with them. Think about it. Take a license. He didn't want to enter into commerce, and they flogged him for it to death. They're just the lowest. It's the bankster thieves. It's just the lowest form of life there is. You know, don't get me going. And we need to start stretching some necks. But I would never deny anybody due process. The kangaroo courts are there because of the fake money. The martial law is there because of the fake money. And the fake money is there because of the martial law. That's kind of like a reciprocal sort of thing. You know what I mean? The bar member foreign agents of the Roman cult are there because of the fake money and the martial law. The prisons are populated because of the fake money. The endless wars are because of the fake money. The fake money is the cause of all of our problems. It behooves every man who values liberty of conscience for himself to resist invasions of it in the case of others, or their case may, by change of circumstance, become his own. If you fail to educate people about jury nullification, karma says that you'll get a jury of idiots. And you might anyways. If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsel or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains set lightly upon you, and may our posterity forget that you are ever our countrymen. Samuel Adams, member of the Sons of Liberty. Anyways, well said, Samuel Adams.
Great quote.
Never forget the men who started this country are marijuana growing, whiskey drinking, tax evading rebels who left their beds at night to shoot at the cops. But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hand. Either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. You're now a watchman. Circulate this video far and wide. So that's the end of that video. What we can do is I can show that common law decision if you want to see it. I'll show it online here. So anybody online wants to see it too. You want to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll pull it up here. And it's WFAA TV. Remember, oh wow, there it is right there. So this is cause number 95-00735, the district court. It's the 95th district court or 14th judicial district, Dallas, Texas. So let's, before I do this, yep, that's it. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now everybody can see it online too. Maybe I'll just there, make it a little bigger. This is 44 pages. So it's not that big. Order of dismissal by the judge. Notice there's no court seal there. So it's really not an authentic order. Although the court seal could be a raised seal, so you wouldn't be able to see it. You never know. 19th of September, 1995, it's hereby ordered that this cause of action is hereby dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. Right? This is a case where a common law court made a ruling and the admiralty court said, we can't touch that. Lack of jurisdiction. Since the subject matter has been previously adjudicated and is res judicata, does apply, previously decided.
Wow.
So here's the docket. So it's the docket of the whole thing. Republic of Texas.
Our one Supreme Court. Common law venue.
Almost 30 years ago.
See, this is all filed into the Texas court.
Now that stamp is from which court? United States of America.
Yeah, one Supreme Court.
So that was Republic of Texas, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, they have their one Supreme Court.
Right.
But that's because they're their own nation.
Of course. I don't see why New Jersey can do the same thing.
As a republic, as a member of the Confederacy.
Of course.
Wow.
In law. Private.
Judgment, name, notice, defendant. So in the common law. Oh, they mentioned the UCC.
They do, yeah.
As
To all appellate. Sorry?
as the judgment.
Right. I can email us to you if you want. It's not that big of a file.
Yeah, eventually, but for now, just keep working with who's ever watching.
Okay. So the appellate subdivisions, appellate jurisdictions, Supreme Court of the United States, et al. To all financing institutions, United States and their agents, subjects, et al. UCC 1, true bill. UCC 4, affidavit. UCC 3, commercial lien. Affidavit of finding of facts. People in or for the United States. Hereby attest and acknowledge the finding of facts to be true, correct, certain.
Wow, this is good. Thank you, Glenn. This is going to help me.
Fact 1. Affiant Fr. Johnny Johnson, being of a freeman character, did charge defendants for fraudulent works, wrongdoing, and did send defendants via certified mail contract number to the defendants, 1 complete set, 2 original documents identical to each other in every way, the other retained by Johnny Johnson, which we the jury have reviewed and says state in the form common law, private agreement.
It was an 1830 case with the UCC, which is good.
Yeah.
They tie the two together.
Well, they do. Yeah.
No, I'm not bad.
I'm not necessarily. I don't like the UCC, but they're doing it again. We the people can do anything we want.
Like I'm saying, against the municipality, I could
Right.
use this same tactic.
We the people can do anything we want. We can use their UCC if we want, but we don't have to.
Yeah, but against the municipality, it might be the weight it buries.
It certainly probably would be,
It bankrupted the TV station.
right? But we the people can do anything we want. That nobody can tell us what to do. Some of it is hard to read.
Yeah. It needs to be penciled in at some point. Copy made, and somebody physically. I'll get an artist to fill in the hard to read spots. Just so we can read it better. So there's more facts. Not how many facts did they find? That's it?
3 facts.
3 facts. Wow.
But that was, see, what they did in Texas is they made it so that it's called a simulated legal process, that you can't serve anything by mail. You can't use mail anymore. But that doesn't mean you couldn't use a process server. And I would just use a process server because it's not by mail.
Man to man.
But under the that simulated legal process statute that they passed in Texas, it's they'll go after you for doing something with by mail. Just can't use mail.
Wow. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. After due consideration and finding of the facts, Our one Supreme Court exclusive to the people by order of the people in and for the United States of America for Ellis County, Texas Republic, finds private judgment, lien, and decree for affiant plaintiff and the same against defendants in the amount of $1 billion in silver coin, or the equivalent in Federal Reserve notes, to be paid immediately in full without further delay, led by the full faith and credit see the 11th Amendment of our national Constitution. And there's 12 jurors all signed it. I wonder if they were all men. They don't even print their names. Interesting. Huh. So is it Republic of New Jersey is my question.
Okay, so after the due finding of facts, our one Supreme Court exclusive, we the people by order of the people in and for the United States of America for Ellis County, Texas Republic, finds private judgment. See, they went and found that they did that past that. I think what happened is that WFAA TV, means the TV station is probably owned by a millionaire, and he went and got this act passed in this Texas legislature because, but the best they could do is, all it says is that you can't do it by mail anymore.
It's too late at that point.
At that point, it's too late.
Yeah. Ex post facto.
Right. Says the amount of, looks like $1 billion, eh?
It is, yeah. 100,000
and silver coin.
1 billion,
yeah.
Or the equivalent.
Federal Reserve notes
Lower
to be
case.
paid immediately in full without further delay.
And so the millionaire guy went to the de facto court, and they said,
well, so he had to go bankrupt, and so hopefully this Johnny Johnson guy went and filed a claim with the
bankruptcy court.
Yeah. That'd be the only way you'd ever see any of that. But he would be in the list with all the rest of the creditors.
Right.
See what I'm
and
saying?
The judge has to be fair related to the valuations.
He has to be neutral. Everybody gets their piece. In other words, if they say that the assets are 20 million and the liabilities are 200 million, then everybody gets 10 cents on the dollar. Right?
So this 1 billion in silver coin, is that 1 billion silver dollars, or is it a billion?
It could be mixed.
No. My point is,
I don't know.
I'm
I'm guessing.
I paid the federal Wells Fargo the 21 silver dollars. I gave them silver dollars and half dollars.
Well, whatever. But they're saying 1 billion silver coins. That's a hell of a pile of silver coins. Of a billion of these.
that's what I'm saying. So it would be in today's money 22 billion, roughly, or 25 billion.
Yeah, right.
In Federal Reserve.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
So the billion in silver coin. Now, were they just?
But this was back in the 90s, and I think the price of silver was like $2.50 an ounce back then.
Right. So that's still 2.5 billion. But
Yeah.
my question would be, if I was on the other side, I'd say this trial by jury, these 12 men are acting outside it's not reasonable what they've determined. Like, what was the issue?
I don't know. I mean, he didn't. This is. We can go through the whole thing, but I don't remember it having the whatever he served them with. I don't remember that being here. So I don't.
You mean the actual suit?
Yeah, the issue that he presented, that he served them with. Anyways, let's just keep going here. and you're welcome to. I'll email this to you, and you can print it off. You see how the common law jury works is there's evidence, right? And the different articles of evidence are given to each juror, and they say yes, 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 depending on, and it's got to be unanimous.
Everything of each point, because
Yeah, each item of evidence, and that they agree. So they 5 billion silver dollars. And that's upside down. That's 5 million silver dollars. 5 million. Yep.
That's cool.
Yep.
Now, does the in your mind, does the handwritten have anything to do with common law, or
Of course.
It is?
Oh yeah. Technically, it should all be handwritten, but some of it's typed, and that's fine. I don't see a problem with the typed. But see, here's the case filed. See, that's what happened is they filed. Well, this is another case, 10th Circuit. So this is a case that they're using as for. So you'd have to sit down and read the whole thing and see what exactly. Motion to dismiss.
With agree.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
the WFAA versus.
This is an attorney that submitted this too.
Okay.
So Johnny Johnson, somebody hired this attorney, looks like Lakeview Developers. So it's a corporation. So there was a corporation. So it was really a corporate battle, and the common law court got mixed up in it, and that's okay. People can do anything they want. And so what happened is no venue or jurisdiction. That's the lawyer said that.
That was his argument.
Right. It's res judicata.
And when you say, who did they both hired lawyers or just the FAA guy?
I don't know. Let's see.
All right.
I haven't looked at this in a long time.
All right. I will have to study it because this is cool. I'm starting to get the
Support in defendant's answer and motion to dismiss. Brief in support.
This is your guy.
A defendant's answer.
This is our guy.
Magna Carta in the year 1215.
Beautiful.
So who is this? This
This
is the lawyer.
He's basically helping.
Well, there's, it's a corporation, so this is the citation. That's the summons. That's how they do the summons in Texas, a citation. And here's where it was served. And this is defendant's answer. I can print it. I can easily print it or email you this thing, and then you can study it more. But you can see it's 44 pages, so there's quite a bit here.
Hmm.
But there's this private judgment and lien. Matter of fact, these look like they're better copies here towards the end of the same stuff that's up front. That's kind of hard to read. You know what I mean?
But the common law court was made up of men under the Texas Republic.
Yeah, I don't like to use the word decree, but they did, obviously. It's a common law court. Yep. That's the end of it right there.
You don't have to print it because I'm not going to get to it.
I'll email it to you.
Yeah, then I have it. But I'm surprised. For years, you told me you didn't know where this was, and now here it is.
Yeah.
I guess somebody finally got it to you.
Actually, I've had it for a long time. I guess I must have forgot, or you forgot to remind me or something.
Maybe you just came upon it in your travels.
Yeah.
In your
So,
files. Great. Yeah, stuff gets lost.
yeah.
We don't know where it is. It's hard to remember how we.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
So, anyways, I guess that's about it, folks. Does anybody have any questions? We are not robots. Ignorance is no excuse to them.
Thanks for the education, somebody said. Very good.
So we'll let the chat settle down a little bit and then
Thanks, man. That was great.
end it. But so that's the common law. So what we'll do is I'll email that to you.
Yeah, fake money. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Reminder, I can't wait because this is really focusing some of the quotes that I need that I always wonder where to find them, and now I'll know the one spot.
Right.
There's a lot of good ones in here.
And I can send you that book too. The book is a bit longer, and there might be more stuff in there. Most of those quotes I got out of that book, all wars are bankers' wars.
Yes, I've heard about the book, but it makes too much sense.
Yeah. So I can send you the book.
So the war they're making against me or you or any sovereign, is that it's a banker's war against the man, right?
Yeah, of course. And it's satanic. They're Satanists. It's diabolically evil.
So my question would be, why can't we sue for peace? One or more, we the people.
They're making war on you. I don't know. My attitude is, why sue for peace? Make them sue for peace.
Because they.
And really, think about it. We signed a peace treaty in 1787. 1783, I'm sorry. And they went and turned around and conspired again to start another war.
In 1812.
Yeah. And so they're not interested in peace. And I think the only thing we can do is exterminate them off the face of the planet.
My question would be is why, if let's assume for the moment that the Treaty of Ghent put back the 1783, and as of recently, the State Department claims that the Treaty of Peace is still valid, but only Article 1 of the Treaty of Peace.
Okay.
So if that's true, then isn't that who is violating the Treaty of Peace? Is it the United States down in D.C. under the Vatican, or is it actually the Great Britain government? Who is violating the even Clause 1 of the Treaty of Peace, which our State Department claims is valid? Who's violating it?
The only reason it would be valid is because once in the War of 1812, once we go to war with them, then all treaties go out the window, and we have to reaffirm the treaties.
Which they did under Ghent. And so what I'm saying is both sides today, as we sit here in 2020, both sides, the government of Great Britain and the government of the United States or the United States of America, we both say this treaty's valid. So who's violating the men on the land that the United States is claiming that the Treaty of Peace is valid? Who's making war against us? Is it, who is making war against me or any man? Somebody's making war. So what treaty are they violating? If they're not violating the Treaty of Peace, because maybe the two governments are not making war against each other.
I think a part of it is that you have done things that has them confused. I mean, we've all done things that has them confused, gotten ourselves mixed up in what they view to be contracts. And really what it comes down to is we need to convene our militias. And then the government will know who the boss is, because all political power comes from the barrel of a gun.
My question. Okay, so you're saying that the state militia or county militia is the ultimate authority.
That's right.
And so what happened when, well, that's true, except for we gave certain powers to the federal government to put down rebellion. In the different states, but that's when one state's making war against another state.
Well, and that was what happened is the Civil War, at least, was, again, the Bankster thieves getting mixed up with the southern states. Really.
And funding their...
And they even tried to attack us, the northern states, and the Russians interfered.
Who tried to attack?
England and France.
While the Civil War was going on.
During the Civil War, yeah.
Russia said, "Stay out of it."
And Russia went and put their fleet in our harbors and stuff.
New York and
And
San Francisco.
said you're gonna have to get past us.
While they work it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's have a fair fight here. Let's have a fair war here.
So, but the point is that
Fair war.
so that
Because
it's really the banksters and the Roman cult is really the enemy. That's really the enemy.
okay, so assuming that's the case, and assuming that's who's making war against you or me, what is our remedy? Because even if we
The Roman cult, I mean, we already went there and seized all our gold, according to what some people say.
Right.
And so we need to, I don't know. My attitude is turn the Vatican into a smoking hole.
Right, but that's not necessarily going to happen. So meantime, how do we use peaceable means, diplomatic means, common law means, to bring forth our claim of violating the peace? Because so when a cop and or a judge and or police and or prisons and or whoever is making war against us through the DC with the bankers, thieves, money, how do we identify the actual enemy?
Well, the current of what's going on is the World Economic Forum and the banksters and the Vatican and the UN. It's the UN. That's really what's going on right now. But the Vatican is the one behind all of that, even. And so we don't necessarily have to but it's the Vatican, the UN. The UN.
So in this Johnny Johnston's case, it was the WFAA who was damaging him in some way.
Yeah, but that was two corporations. Okay, if you read that thing, that was two corporations. Johnny Johnson there was a corporation. That was two corporations.
Because I'm trying to think on a larger scale here, as far as all the different municipalities that we all, like in your case, Bedford, Colleyville, whatever. If we could have identified the enemy, meaning the one making war against us, because all we did was get them fired or retired. That didn't win anything really, other than to get them to leave us alone. I want to now go on the offense, and what would that look like using the common law jury and the finding of facts against whom or against
Okay,
what?
so then, but what you'd have to do then in that case is get a common law jury, convene a common law jury against their corporation.
Okay.
And the finding of facts would be that we found that he was unlawfully arrested. We found that he was assaulted. He was kidnapped. He was falsely imprisoned.
And we find under the Constitution of New Jersey, going all three of them, it says that the religious liberty has an inestimable privilege value. That's what it says, essentially.
Okay,
So
yeah.
that's what I'm looking.
In
so
New Jersey, in your case, in New Jersey, that's yeah.
So the state of New Jersey corporation. That's what I think, and I'm not so sure that the founding fathers of the various colonies that valued religious liberty didn't do that on purpose, knowing someday the nutcases would go so far under color of law.
Well, again, it's up to us to defend it.
Right. So I'm just looking. I'm trying to figure out the steps.
Yeah, Lakeview Developers is Johnny Johnson, Jerry Wilkins, and Lakeview Developers
So there were two
doing
men,
business as Lakeview Cemetery.
so there were two men in.
So it was versus A.H. Bellow Corporation, WFAA TV Inc., Robert W. Deschurd, I think, and Valerie
So
Williams.
there were men and women involved on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's just like we have. So basically, I like that. Okay, I'm looking for the steps to say, okay, we bring the man in and the corporations, the municipality, the county, and the state. And I think it can be done because they are.
I need to go and get some airtime from my phone, and I need to go and I need to get some tea. I'm going to be out of tea here pretty quick.
You can't have that.
Can't have that.
He
That's
can
right.
buy the tea on his card.
That's right. I was going to get him, so I'm going to take him to Walmart, but I need to do it here pretty quick if we're going to do it. So we need to end this live stream. Thank you very much for everybody. Thanks for watching. I think we're about done for today. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, same time, same place, same channel.
Deep state. This does get deep.
Yeah. So Glenn,
Deep state is the enemy.